It's M H370 until you do some research. Don't talk to me. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. Your opinion, it means squat to me. It's H370. Not all heroes wear capes. I wear glasses to see. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. The trolls hate seeing me succeed, but guess what? H370.
Let's go, chat. Let's frickin' go. Guys, welcome to this live stream tonight. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. I hope you guys enjoy it. Things have been getting absolutely wild recently. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you very much. Thank you, John B., for being here. Fancy Flint, Keith, Ainsley, Joe, Kathy D, Sassy, Ramos. Good to see you guys. Gustavo, Turtles all the way. Nature's Wisdom, appreciate you. Staycation Jason's in the house. UAP Zach, M37Z, love it. Mystical Wonderland, appreciate you. Sham 6, Joe Moss, Justin B, Devin. Yeah, when are we gonna have that collab with Scalar Granny? Uvanda, good to see you. John Sproul, Fourth Orb, Carry On, Webeck, Paul C, K Stack. Good to see you. Alex D. Castillo, awesome to have you here, my man. Amanda, good to see you. William, glad you're in the house. Langigi, I'm scaling out on an ounce of nose beers. Okay, well, that's good for you. Darth McButtfart, awesome. Good to have you here as well. I think I said hi to Mystic Wonderland. If not, hello again. Johnny Party, William Bill, good to see you as well. Martini Poured, awesome. Kakalaki Stew. Yeah, no martinis tonight, guys. Johnny Party, good to see you. Going to see Dune 2. I hope you enjoyed. It was great. Goosebumps, LFG. Oh, totally agree, man. Totally agree. Egon, good to see you. Ray Tracer, good to see you in the chat. Chris DeMarco, awesome. Goosebumps. Billy Brew. Wow, we got lots of people here. Jess is here hanging out. Antonello, good to see you. Mike Man, me, good to see you. Boo, good to see you. Noah Jean's here as well. Awesome. Yes, I'm unmuted. You made me check right there as well. Jeff, Mushroom from Mars, From Thought, Lel, whoever that is, appreciate you. Meridian, nice to see you. Joe Moss. Let's see. I think we got CW, Scott, Paul, Pistol, Justin, Jason Hill, David, Karate, Monero Dinero, good to see you as well. Ala JK999, good to see you. Christopher George, Adam, God, you guys are in the house. Cryptic, the Juggler's Assistant, good to see you there. Short Order Cook, Chase, UFO Nut, good to see you. Brandon Rudder, Craig Chase, a lot of names I recognize in here. Jake Beeble, guys, thank you for jumping in early. Dryce, good to see you, man. And whatever the smiley face person is. Yeah, Alex Baldman. Yeah, Baldman. Comfrey, good to see you as well. Devos in the house. Kinsei Sensei, good to see you. So lots of people up in the house right now. I will actually start this with the Discord invite for you guys who want to join, who haven't been able to get in. This Discord invite only lasts for 1 day, so make sure you use it. Make sure you verify right away if you want to get into the Discord. Appreciate you. I see you too, Vic. You have to also see the Discord invite in the YouTube channel. I can't post in X for some reason. So if you are watching on X, you need to jump over to the YouTube channel, and then you'll find the Discord invite, which is currently in the chat right now. You can scroll up and find it. If one of my mods can pin it, I'd appreciate that. I don't know if they're allowed to. Okay, guys. So let's just start with a quick rundown of what's been going on. We're not going to spam the Kim.com thing because I don't know. I'm not trying to start beef with anybody out there. As long as he stays out of my business, I stay out of his business, and I think things are fine. But as you did see, he did threaten me with a lawsuit, seemingly. I don't know what he's going to sue me over. Usually, when you're suing someone over a civil matter, usually you try to talk to them first about what the grievance is in general. And, I'm always truthful and honest 100% with everybody. I've recorded everything out there. Him, on the other hand, he's very deceptive. So, for me, I gave him the best advice he was going to get, which was to walk away from this. This will not go well. Even if your name's Kim.com, it doesn't matter if your name's even Elon Musk. Do not stand in the way of me and this community getting to the answers. There's no positive outcome for you whatsoever if you are in the way. That's just the truth. And I think that everybody kind of knows that. And we've seen what's happened to every single person that's tried to stand in the way. They've all been completely destroyed. So, just don't do it. And then we won't have to have any more unpleasantness. It's not enjoyable for any of us. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at the recent posts. Let me check the Discord invite. What day is it today? Wow, a lot of people joined the Discord. I think. No, that's working. Unless no, Discord invite works. A bunch of people just joined. If you can't figure it out, you can't figure it out, but it's working. Okay, first thing I want to say is that Elon Musk almost certainly knows about the videos. So let's go to the Twitter real quick so you guys can see what the updates have been recently here. Let's get this party rolling. So we are going to do a quick review of the recent comings and goings. We're going to look at this Traversable Wormholes, and then I'm going to go over the Glenn Beck prep, and then we'll call it a night. I'm going to try to get to sleep early tonight because, man, I need to be prepared for tomorrow. I need to be fresh. So if you didn't catch it, Quite Frankly TV, I did a quick appearance, 20-minute appearance with him. I was on with Emerald as well this morning, or what it was the afternoon. I don't know, earlier today. And I actually just downloaded that, so I'm going to post that on my Twitter after the live stream tonight so you guys can watch it. It's only about a 10-minute segment. I had to crunch in a lot of stuff in there. The Glenn, we'll go to the Glenn Beck stuff too as well. So let's just start with the Glenn Beck stuff. So I heard back from Glenn Beck's people. He wanted to do it tomorrow. So I said yes. I think it's going to be respectful. It's probably not going to be a traditional debate. So hopefully people don't feel like I deceived them at all. But he is going to be skeptical. So it is going to be a situation where we're going to try to convince him. I think that means we should expect the debunks to show up. Maybe he'll play a clip from the Corridor Crew idiots or whoever. It doesn't matter. They're going to, if he pulls up any of the debunk stuff, I've got like literally lists of things to go over. If he pulls up the cloud debunk, then the first thing I'll ask him is, go ahead and I'll give you 20 minutes and you go try to find the cloud picture on the internet. Good luck. Because there's no conceivable way that anybody found this random cloud picture on the internet in 20 minutes. It's not even realistic that somebody would be able to identify a picture and go, oh, those are the clouds I saw in that one video. It's completely unbelievable. So just even right off the bat, the story falls apart for the cloud picture. And that's before we even get to the part where like the videos are proven to be a 3D rendered environment, whether or not that's a hoax 3D rendered environment, or we're just looking at a real environment. It is conclusively 3 dimensions. There is no possible argument to make that we're looking at any type of 2D backgrounds. So, you know, it's, if he does do those debunks, great, then I will address them, and then we'll move on to the other more important parts related to this technology and the science behind it, which we're going to be digging into today. So this, I believe, is going to be live around 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. I believe it's 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. So I will probably post an update once I confirm that it's going to be live, but I think 10 a.m. Eastern tomorrow should be the time when the debate happens on the radio. It's going to be audio only. So it's kind of disappointing because I was hoping we'd have video face to face and we could show video and what have you. That does open the door up to there being some shenanigans, but I've gotten it from his people that it should be respectful, and he's not going to try to ambush me with anything. We'll see. So yeah, spread the word on that if you guys want. Should be good. You have a screenshot of Kate's messaging. I mean, I could pull up screenshots of me messaging back and forth with her. I did talk to her, though. I'm not really worried. I don't think people think that I'm lying, but I've literally never lied about anything related to this case. So if they think I'm lying and they're going to catch me, I just say good luck. I mean, when you have the truth on your side, you don't lie. You're not afraid of people trying to catch you in a lie. It's no big deal. Yeah, why is it a debate instead of a conversation? Because he's going to come in skeptical. So the first engagement I got was that Glenn Beck was not going to take it seriously. That's how it was worded to me. And so if he's going to come in and not take it seriously, like he's going to think he's talking to a flat earther or something like that, he's in for a rude awakening. And that's why I'm going to turn it into a debate where I'll ask him the questions then. You know, so what even is a debate? Debate is just a conversation of ideas where you go back and forth, right? So, you know, if he thinks the videos are fake, then I just tell him, okay, well, what do you think happened to the plane? You know, so that's how it'll go back, and I will be respectful. I'm not gonna attack Glenn Beck for any reason. Come on, he's a good guy. I even did him a favor and showed him all the evidence, and I gave him all the talking points, which we'll go through later today as well. So let's come back to that. Actually, maybe we will just start with that. I'm going to go through the talking points real quick with Glenn Beck, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff that we've got out there. So the talking points for Glenn Beck are, first of all, the 3 questions that I said I was going to ask him right off the bat. What does he think happened to MH370? Based on what evidence? I presume he'll say something about pilot suicide, because that's the prevailing narrative that's out there. I presume that he will say that, well, the plane went dark and blah, blah, blah. And I'll just explain the flight path does not contraindicate suicide. There's no debris field was found, which is not possible for a 777. I even actually have a thing here where somebody did the math on the 250 seats on the plane that comprise 4 to 8 pounds of foam each. So that's 1,500 pounds of foam that floats that is somehow missing and not anywhere in the Indian Ocean. The Rolls-Royce data was not made publicly available. If he says that the ocean's really big, then I'll inform him of the fact that the narrative out there has the plane running out of fuel and there's nowhere else for the plane to go. They already searched everywhere, which means that either those satellite pings are wrong, or, I mean, it pretty much means the satellite pings have to be wrong if he thinks that the plane crashed. Otherwise, the plane just didn't crash. And if the satellite pings are wrong, then that opens the door to this narrative. The fire narrative is by far the most prevailing narrative if the satellite pings are wrong. Then, of course, I'll ask, how does the plane crash into the ocean without leaving a debris field, which we all know is impossible. And then after that, we'll jump into how does the United States not know exactly what happened to the plane. So aren't even going to start with the videos. We're going to just start with the straight up hard evidence around the MH370 case, which will show that we don't even need the videos to prove that something mysterious happened in this plane. We don't even need them. And that's how we'll set the framework, so that he understands that there is objectively a conspiracy at play with this plane. The United States has covered it all up. They've been involved in the cover story since the beginning as well. And then we'll move on to the other questions as well. So once again, 10 a.m. tomorrow. 10 a.m. tomorrow is happening. I presume it'll be live on the radio, on whatever Glenn Beck's radio station is. I think it's on the Blaze. Then I gave them a list of talking points so that they're prepared. And if you guys think I'm missing anything, let me know. In 45 minutes, I doubt we'll get through more than this. And since it's going to be audio only, I will have my list of evidence up so that I make sure I don't miss anything. We're going to start with the United States knowing exactly what happened to MH370. We'll talk about the SBIR system, the SOSA system, the over-the-horizon radar, the spy satellite USA 229 that was in the correct location that should have known. So, like the spy satellite's staring down at the location that the narrative and the satellite pings say the plane turned into the South Indian Ocean. So the United States knows if this plane really turned into the South Indian Ocean or not. And if there was no debris field where we went down and found the pings, didn't find one piece of the plane there, that the debris contraindicates that, then it throws into question those satellite pings entirety. And then the question is, well, if the United States knows the plane didn't go into the South Indian Ocean, they have the spy satellite staring down. Yes, radio, it's going to be 1 hour segment, but 45 minutes because of commercials. So there's going to be like blocks. So that's why I tried to frame the talking points around that, because it's going to be a lot like Coast to Coast AM was. Then we'll talk about how the coordinates in the satellite video are the real location of MH370 in the Nicobar Islands around 1840 UTC, published 9 days before the raw telemetry data was made publicly available. So that goes to show that unless the hoaxer is psychic, there's no way they can know that. Even the debunkers out there just say, like, they literally have no counter argument to this. The debunkers' counter argument to the telemetry data not being published 9 days later is, well, they were searching in the Andaman Sea and the Nicobar Islands. So what? So what? They were searching the South China Sea too. How does the person know that that's the spot where the plane actually was? They can't actually know that. And this goes to show like how like these debunkers, like they're just at this point their brains are so broken, and they've now got to the point where they're so committed now, like they have skin in the game at this point. Because if the videos get proven real now, it ends the debunkers forever. Like nothing they ever say will ever be taken seriously ever again. Anytime they say anything and try to debunk anything, people just go, well, you were wrong about the MH370 videos. You guys were trying to cover up and lie about us having warp technology. So this is the reason why the debunkers are so committed at this point to trying to prove the videos are fake. And they're willing to fabricate anything. Now, the thing, too, is that there's some chance that Glenn Beck comes up with some new debunk thing or something like that. I doubt it. But I should be prepared for that as well. And that would be really suspicious. If all of a sudden Glenn Beck's got some new debunk that nobody's ever heard of, you guys should presume that he's probably on the payroll of the CIA or somebody else. Because at this point, there should be no more debunks that are appearing, like net new debunks. These videos have been poured through. Everybody's looked online. The thousands of debunkers have been looking for ways to prove them fake, and nobody's found anything. So if all of a sudden Glenn Beck mysteriously out of nowhere comes up with some brand new thing, that would be extremely sketchy. And that's part of the reason why, like, retiring from the case and now the debunkers brought it all back, it helps a lot, because it shows that there's really, like, we know the intelligence community at this point is probably trying to figure out a way to make these videos go away. But anything they try to put forth at this point is going to be extremely sketchy. Unless they have another debunk that they prepared years and years and years ago, potentially like the cloud debunk played out. Although that's, of course, speculative. We can't know for sure. Okay, so let's stick on to some of these other talking points real quick. No sign of manipulation or editing on a single frame in either video. The clouds move and evolve naturally in the satellite video, and the zap illuminates the volumetric clouds in 3 dimensions. There's no reference as well to copy from, which is generally a prerequisite for Oh, that was Frank was messaging me there. That's a prerequisite for CGI generally. So when they do CGI, you copy something, you frame it, you change it all around, kind of like when you use AI to make thumbnails and stuff like that nowadays. I have some screenshots of some artists talking about how difficult it would be to make a 3D rendered environment. The 3D rendered environment is actually probably one of the hardest things to do, and that's why the debunkers are trying to be adamant and lie about the fact that they think they can be produced with two-dimensional software. It can't. It can't. And they know that. And the problem is that if they were to admit it and admit that you need a full 3D rendered environment using software and hardware from 2014, it's not happening. Practically impossible. So this again goes to show how dishonest they are, is that they have to delude themselves and make up these fake scenarios in order for these videos to be fake, which is just honestly, it's sad at this point. One of these debunkers out there too has been sitting out there trying to recreate the videos on live stream. And I think she's put like already 20 hours or something into it and hasn't even come remotely close. It was sad when she was like trying to get the lighting to work, where like you literally have to use 3D rendered environment software to get the lighting to work. And she's using software from 2024 that isn't 3D rendered software to try to like fake the lighting and while comparing it to the video. It's like at some point you just wonder, like, can you just give up? Like, it's getting pathetic. But they're never going to give up. They have skin in the game at this point. So like I said, no debris found, not a single piece. The plane supposedly ran out of fuel. Actually, I'll probably share this with you guys here so you guys can see. There we go. I want you guys to see this. So, I mean, we're playing with our cards face up. We're not trying to catch Glenn Beck in anything. We're not trying to trick him or anything like that. We're telling everybody what our arguments are ahead of time. I've already sent these to Glenn Beck's people, so he has all the arguments. So there's no excuse to not be prepared. Although I think he will be prepared because, he's a professional guy, but we'll see. So if the plane ran out of fuel, there's nowhere else for it to go. Are the satellite pings correct or not? That's the question we have to ask people. The few pieces of debris that washed up, because we have to imagine, what are the normie brain people going to think? They're going to think, oh, it was some rogue pilot suicide. There's no indication of that whatsoever. The simulator data was MH150 conclusively. It was ruled out by the FBI and the officials. All the officials ruled out the pilot. Nobody has actually pinned the pilot whatsoever, except for random people that are making up fake narratives. There's actually literally no evidence whatsoever of pilot suicide. It's actually contraindicated by the flight path. You don't go to the nearest airport to land when you're in a suicidal scenario. You just crash the plane like every other suicidal pilot has done. You also don't go to try to hide the plane either. That's not something a suicidal pilot does. That's something a foreign state actor does to try to cover up what they did with the plane. The debris, it's actually this scenario is the only scenario that the debris is consistent with. All the other scenarios around the missing MH370 plane, none of them can account for the debris. Not the crash in the South Indian Ocean, not pilot suicide, not flying the plane to Russia. I mean, Jeff Wise needs all the debris to be fake. And as well as the people who think the plane was shot down in the South China Sea, again, those people need all the debris to be fake. And there's, I don't know, like 8 or 10 pieces of debris minimum that are like pretty likely to be from MH370. This scenario, that debris can be from MH370. This is the only scenario that debris can be from MH370. Parts of it even had burn marks on it. We'll point that out. Some of the debris actually had burn marks and scorch marks on it, which no other scenario can account for. All the debris, most of the debris is too far away to have drifted from the South Indian Ocean. None of the debris washed up in Australia, which contraindicates that. And then we'll get them with the flapper on as well. No serial, barnacles. So there's no serial number on the flapper on. I mean, it could be from another plane. It's just a part number they use. The barnacle growth is inconsistent with the drift models that they did. It has barnacles in the part where it's out of the water that they need in order for it to blow over to the Reunion Island. And then lastly, the barnacles do not have only grown for 4 months. So 4 months is not a long enough time for that to have been in the water for it to drift that far. So the more logical location is that this plane either crashed somewhere further west near the Maldives, which would be easier to get to Africa, or it was simply ripped apart in Diego Garcia military base and thrown in the water there, which is consistent with what our scenario is in terms of the fire scenario and parts of it falling off. We also may talk about how they falsified the first drift analysis. They didn't talk about how the very first drift analysis they did ruled out the crash site. And this is the funniest part, is that when you actually are trying to develop a story, you have to use all the evidence. Instead, what they do is they do a model. They throw drift stuff into the water from the supposed crash site, and they immediately find out there's a 0% chance it would wash up in the Reunion Island. So instead of just admitting they're wrong, what do? Then they get the Americans to give them a flapper on, and they basically just do a completely different test and then convince themselves this somehow makes it right. Okay, let's go through the next pieces. 19 family members signed in the joint statement saying their phones were still ringing for up to 4 days. How do you explain that? There's really no explanation for that, including one that proved it on national television. This shows those phones were not in the bottom of the ocean. They were somewhere else, probably in a bag somewhere on Diego Garcia, if I had to guess. Also, Ken recently showed that there is cell service. There's, I think, a commercial cell service. Cell service. Is it cell or wireless service? Ken's been doing some pretty good analysis. So Ken actually showed that the pings are actually 100% consistent with the plane being in the location that we have it estimated within 10 minutes of our estimation time, which to me is plenty enough of a window. I mean, that's having potentially narrowed down when the videos are happening to a 10-minute window 10 years later, to me is incredible. And when I talk about Ken, I'm talking about Ken Staubin. He's one of the people that's been looking into these videos or not the videos, but he has been looking into the videos as well, but looking into MH370 case for many years. He's been on the conspiracy bandwagon, CIA taking it. Really the only difference in our opinions is he thinks that the zap was edited in, but he still thinks the videos are real, which I'm not even against that. Like, you know that the debunkers, they try to attack the zap, the portal, the wormhole, but they don't realize that even if that was fake, that doesn't mean the rest of the video is fake, even in that scenario. Ken realizes that. So we may point that out as well. So let me put that out. This is why, like, it's just basic logic and reason just breaks debunkers' minds. Like this, I think I even mentioned this on Danny Jones, where I was like, even if the VFX was a match, which is objectively not, it's objectively not a match. Everybody's agreed to that. Mick West has agreed it's not a match. Their argument is that it has been modified all around. It's not even the same frame rate. If you were to like play it real time side by side, it doesn't even match up. The zap happens in a fraction of a second. Like the explosion is like a second and a half or something like that, or maybe not quite, but definitely longer. But yeah, even if that was a match, it wouldn't debunk the rest of the videos. I think I remember saying that to Jonas, and then Jonas is just like, or not Jonas, sorry, Danny Jones. I got Jonas on the mind. And Danny Jones is just like, well, but because they sort the NPC is just like short circuit when you bring up like basic logic reasoning. The 2 fake passports, I'm probably not going to bring up the fake passport stuff. We just don't really have time for it. If he brings it up, we may talk about the people with the fake passports. Let's keep going. I want to try to get through this so we can get to the scientific paper. I don't want to be up all night tonight. The details in the videos are scientifically accurate, but to only non-mainstream science promoted by Tesla, Thomas Bearden, and others regarding the ether and scalar physics. I'm probably going to change this. I may not even talk about this. Apparently, scalar physics is like a no-no word. People don't like it. Let's say scalar potentials. Cold explosion. Scalar and let's say mixed wave interferometry. And then I'm also going to bring up it's not actually just non-mainstream. Some of it's actually, I'm going to say scientifically accurate in general. I'm going to change because he may attack me and say, oh, well, it's not mainstream science, so it's fake science or something like that. Well, even if you say that, then the question is like, oh, well, they'll say, I'll say, okay, well, so this person is what? Somebody who believes in these other alternative theories out there, and they're an expert at all those, and they made their video 100% scientifically accurate to science that's not even mainstream in 2014, like 10 years before any of the traversable wormhole stuff has come out and all this. Like, come on. Yeah, these videos are I'm at this point 100% sure these videos are real. Yeah, 100% sure. Far too much detail related to them. All of the evidence that we put forth, it's practically undeniable at this point, and that's even despite the fact that we're making some extremely serious claims regarding the conspiracy side of this and literally being able to warp a plane. But we found the scientific papers, we found the Defense Intelligence Agency reports talking about this kind of stuff. I don't think that they do reports on science that's not real for the most part. Now, you might argue remote viewing, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm open-minded about that kind of stuff as well. But it makes sense also. Let's wait for a second actually on that. I think, hold on, I'm going to write this down. When did we figure out warp technology, warp drive? Okay. I may do a clip on that actually. Oh, okay, yeah. So the warp event is macroscopic phase conjugation, which is an endothermic event, an absorption of energy consistent with Thomas Bearden's cold explosion. So I already wrote all this. So this is kind of duplicative. That he talked about in 1985. So and this is like, as far as I know, endothermic events, is there even such a thing as a real endothermic event that anyone's ever seen before other than these videos? I don't think so. Maybe first endothermic event ever recorded? Question mark? I'm not sure. Because if somebody was faking this, they would have faked it with an explosion or an implosion, which is actually what the stock effect is. So it doesn't make sense that they would change the type of event entirely. So for the people that are the doubters there, first of all, I'm not going to try to be rude to you here, but I do want to say that you are going to be proven 100% wrong about the videos if you don't think the videos are real. So that's fine. If you want to ask questions about it, that's fine as well. But everything you ask has been addressed, mainly with respect to the satellites. People all try to make stuff. Clouds aren't moving enough. We should be seeing the satellite move. You are all 100% wrong. You have to, again, realize that it is a ground-based computers that are building this perspective. Imagine, just think about how someone's using it. Someone is using it to track objects in the military. They can't be watching a satellite that's moving 16,000 miles per hour. That doesn't work. We've got ground-based computers that are pulling satellite data using Google Earth. We've proven that they use Google Earth with Quick Terrain Modeler to make a rendered environment for tracking purposes just like this. So just think about it logically about how you would use a tracking system, a satellite system, practically. And that's the reason why. And somebody actually posted in the comments that it's even better than what we've been speculating, and that they can actually move the perspective around when they're looking down in 3 dimensions anywhere on Earth that they want and see video playback recording. And then potentially they're using, like, it's even possible that they literally render the plane or the objects they're tracking separately to the background. Although I don't know how we would ever be able to show that in general. But the fact that we have USA 229 staring down with its sister satellite right at that location at the right time is good enough proof that they have the capability to have seen the plane. No doubt. So, and this is gonna be the last time I talk to you, Rob, in like ever. But I'm definitely not wrong. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I've seen you post before, and you constantly lie and make false things. And this is like this. He's like the epitome of Reddit brain people. Reddit brain people think they know everything. They have this smug sense of like they think they know all stuff, but they don't think about anything logically whatsoever. And that's the big problem with people like this, is that they think they know everything, but they actually know nothing whatsoever. They haven't looked into any of the stuff. Like, we've actually shown all the evidence about how it works. It's not arguable. Like, literally uses Google Earth. We actually deduced that months ago before even figuring it out conclusively. So this is the problem that with a lot of the people that are out there, the Redditors that are out there, is that, like, they have cognitive dissonance going on where like I have to be wrong or be a liar, because if I'm not a liar, then it means that their whole world is a lie, that they're wrong. And for a lot of people, they just can't admit they're wrong. And I think that just to the Redditors that are out there, like that guy and other people, like you need to learn to admit that you're wrong. It's not a vice to be wrong. Like to be wrong is to be human. That's how we grow. That's how we get smarter. That's how we get more intelligent. And we should be our own biggest critics. If you're coming out there pretending like you know everything 100%, you don't know anything. The stuff that I've been my own biggest critic on all of this stuff from the beginning, in terms of, and this is what I'm going to tell Glenn Beck tomorrow, in terms of questioning and second guessing every piece of evidence that's out there. But you know, the final nail in the coffin is the evidence on the evidence list is universal. The evidence on the evidence list is not restricted just to this scenario. Anybody that's coming up with what happened to the plane has to come up with a story that's consistent with all the evidence that's out there. If you're throwing evidence that's out there, you have to have a plausible reason to throw it out. This theory throws out the least amount of evidence, and the only evidence it throws out is the satellite pings after 1840, where we never found the plane that's indicated by those satellite pings. Not just never found the plane, never found anything whatsoever. So, and you're going to get blocked, Rob, as well. Nothing personal, but you need to just move on with your life. Okay, now let's go on to the next thing. Oh, yeah, and the people that get blocked, I just want to address this real quick, because I see people ping me, and then I go see that these like people are crying about getting blocked or whatever, and you go look at the replies, and they're sitting there going, "You're an idiot. This is fake. You're a scammer." Blah blah blah. Like if you say any of that kind of stuff, if you are disparaging at all, you're going to immediately be blocked. And I don't give a shit about you. You're an idiot. You're never going to be unblocked ever. There's not going to be another unblocking or anything like that. So if you want to cry about it or whatever, you know, go cry about it somewhere else. Go cry to your mom or whatever you is. Like the fact that you're crying about being blocked by somebody who you think is promoting something fake just shows how like absolutely pathetic you are as a person. Let's go back to this. And I think I already muted that guy, because like normally when I see people who are just trolling, like Redditors, whatever, first thing I do is mute them. And then when they push too much and they start attacking, whatever, that's when I just come back and I just block them for the most part. The truth is, there he is right there. Okay, so he's getting blocked right now. He's gone. He won't be back. He just got blocked. But the truth is, I normally don't until they like push a little too far. But a lot of these guys, like these videos have broken their brains, so they unfortunately most of the time the way it plays out is I mute them, and then they keep pushing, they get blocked. Okay. And yeah, if you want to cry about it, go cry about it. You know what? Go join the nut job Redditors, like the literal nut jobs, like the drug addict guy and the gambling addict guy and the other guy who's like literally whole job it is to, you know, be obsessed with me. You know, Kim.com follows him. You guys can join up with those guys. If you want to have, you know, hang out with Kim.com, the guy who's a convict on the run, who's facing extradition. You want to join up with him, go nuts, man. I think it's a very fitting match. Okay, let's get back to some of this. The dark lines in front of the orbs are a high-powered pulse laser that can create space geodesic that allows the orbs to glide surf like a gravity well. We found this. This is from the scientific paper that we saw about warp drives. And the warp drive talks about the petawatt laser. So this actually gives us hope that we might actually be able to create this, and even talks about high-powered pulse. And there was some other details that I read as well about like how exactly they could use this to amplify the laser energy as well, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, if you want to think about the laser thing, this is where like you're imagining this laser shooting forward, and the laser is actually able to create the same type of effect on a very smaller scale that we see from the plane itself, where we see this negative energy event happen. So it's this idea that's kind of poking a hole in reality to get to the ether, if you want to think of it. It could even do something more complicated than that, because we don't see it close back up again right away. It's like it's just creating space and then moving down through it. The next one here as well is the plane was on fire from 500 pounds of lithium-ion batteries. This is supported by the flight path as well as 19 real witnesses, including Catherine T., who is in the agreed-upon location of the plane by everybody. So it's weird that they try to discredit her because everybody agrees that she was in the right location to see the plane. I just killed a mosquito. Feels bad. Yeah, in the locations within like not even that far from the coordinates. And the thing is too, we don't know exactly how far away she was from the plane. Like I would guess probably 50 miles, but that's just a pure guess how far away she was. At 10,000 feet, that's a pretty reasonable visual, but could be closer. The semiconductor scientists, engineers are the motive. Counter espionage is the most likely reason. We had the $150,000 bounty for the person to come forward. Nobody ever came forward with the source work, despite hundreds of millions of impressions and having gone on 70 plus podcasts. So there's literally no excuse to be like, oh, this person just didn't know that his videos were being promoted on all of social media and every major podcast, on Alex Jones, that we were talked about Rogan. Like the fact that no hoaxer ever came forward is probably the death knell to these videos. They pretty much just have to be real at that point. Any other fake videos that got this much attention? I don't think any videos out there have ever gotten this much attention. Anomalous videos like this. Any hoax video that come out with this much attention, the hoaxer would have come forward long ago. So now they have to come up with a complete story that somehow also explains why the hoaxer never came forward. Some people say, "Oh, well, he's dead." Like, how old was the hoaxer? Guys, life expectancy is like 76 years old in the United States. The hoaxer was 66 years old when they made these videos. These videos, like Keemstar pointed out, these videos were not created. If they were fake, they were not created by somebody in their 70s or 60s. These videos have been created by somebody who's younger, for sure. But they're not. They're just real military videos. Okay. And then Edward C. Lin. So Edward C. Lin is the guy that leaked the videos. Like we're like 99.9999% sure. The evidence basically pinpoints him. Anybody else, if you were doing a criminal investigation into who leaked anything that's out there, like there'd be no doubt whatsoever that Edward C. Lin is the guy. The timeline matches up. February 2014, starts to get investigated April 2nd, 2014. He's in the VPU-2 Wizard Squadron that's deployed to Diego Garcia. Reportedly deployed to Diego Garcia. Classified information is available on the internet. Oh yeah, his assignment matches, timeline matches, his position matches, lieutenant commander. So he would have had access to the videos. They put him in prison. They made him sign a plea deal. They were afraid that if he went to trial, they'd have to show what it was publicly that he leaked. The FOIA was rejected to the NCIS and total to become secret in the interest of national defense and foreign policy. Okay, so the VFX frame rate's not the same. Number of frames not the same. Even if it was a match, it wouldn't debunk the videos. Only one frame is similar. Debunkers argue that they would have to move everything around, changed every aspect of it. Can't provide recreation steps to reproduce. And then what else? So they can't provide recreation steps to reproduce. And oh yeah, and it was used in 4 places. 4 major media without any major adjustment. So it's actually literally never been adjusted the way the debunkers claim. Never. There's not even one example where the debunkers can point to where this VFX has ever been modified the way it's been modified. They claim it's been modified for these videos. So I can list those out. I better just type them out as well. Killing Time, Attack on Titan, Starship Troopers, and Eastbound and Down. Do I nuke Mick West here as well? Let's say I'm also going to say VFX found by 1 day old Reddit account. Mick West claims he found it inexplicably. An obscure 3DO video game within hours the same day, used to ban all conversation on Reddit. So here's your debunk, guys, for the, should we just do a, let me just, I think I'm going to go ahead and snip this, or let's do a quick thing. One sec, guys. Okay, so here's the debunk for the VFX, Pyromania VFX. Sorry, here's the debunk for the Pyromania VFX. So the VFX was found by a one-day-old Reddit account. Mick West claims he found it inexplicably in a 3DO video game within hours the same day on August 19th, 2023. It was used to ban all conversation of the MH370 videos on Reddit. The VFX is not the same frame rate or the same number of frames. Even if the VFX was a match, it would not debunk the entire videos. Only one frame is even similar, and it's only similar along the edge. It's not even similar in the middle. Debunkers argue that they changed every aspect of the VFX, pixel by pixel, and can't reproduce the recreation steps to make it. And then it's also been used in 4 major media without any major adjustments. The Killing Time video game, Attack on Titan advertisement, Starship Troopers major motion picture, and Eastbound and Down, very popular TV show on HBO. Okay. The AARO, so I actually provided the information to the AARO. I can probably list off the reply in the email to Glenn Beck as well, which shows that the AARO will be able to confirm this footage is real, whether or not they tell the truth or they come back to me. We've given it to them. So one way or another, we should be able to get to the truth of this. I don't think that they can overtly lie. Like if they were to find the stuff, because all they have to do is find Lieutenant Commander Edward Sealand, they're going to find that he leaked these videos, and that's the end. And then I don't know what they do. Maybe they just lie about it, or I'm not sure. The other part too is that I'm not a liar. You don't have to believe me. You can just literally look at the evidence. I've made the full list of evidence publicly available for everyone to look at. To date, not a single person has refuted the evidence list. And then this is really our moment to take back power from the elite people. So I know, I can't prove it, but I know that the elites know about stuff like over Unity devices, like over Unity generators that can produce just unlimited energy without being plugged in, and that they're hoarding it. And the various other elite people know about this type of technology as well. It would not surprise me if Elon Musk knows. The fact that Elon Musk hasn't responded at all is very sketchy, because especially considering he's got government contracts, he most likely has been read in on this, and he has probably signed an NDA. Honestly, at this point, that's the only explanation I can come up with for why he hasn't made a comment on it. Guys, if there's trolls in the chat, you can just okay, well, I'm just gonna ban this guy. He's gone. Don't worry. Okay. And yeah, and if anyone thinks I am a liar, well, I've been publishing every single thing on social media. All my Twitter has been public. I've done live streams basically every single night. I've done 70 podcasts. You guys can go look for discrepancies in the story or any evidence that I'm lying. It's possible that I'm wrong, but I'm not a liar. So I would wish people the best of luck on that front. Guys, we got some mentally ill people in the chat here tonight as well. Just mods, if you're out there and you just see like these mentally ill people that are spamming the chat, just ban them. Just ban them. The Redditors are having a full meltdown right now because they're realizing that the gig's up. Like there's no more debunking. There's nothing more that they can really do to stop this from coming out anymore. The intelligence community is melting down, as well as the debunkers are, because for these videos represent the end of the lives of the debunkers, and I don't mean that literally. I don't mean they're gonna. I mean, some of them may hurt themselves, but for most of these people, like it will shatter their worldview irreparably, and it'll prove that everything that they've thought was true and all the effort they've gone to try to explain stuff to be normal has all been a lie over their entire lives. So when you see people attacking with like the bots and stuff like they're doing right now in the chat, like that's the reason why. Because like they're just literally, these videos have just actually broken their minds to a degree where like they can't accept reality anymore. And this is why the government probably is hiding it, because they know that people like this are gonna like literally have mental breakdowns, like is actually going on right now. Scary stuff, man. It's really scary, dude. Yeah, it's childish, but it's also like actually legitimately scary that people might actually just harm themselves because they're going to find out that their whole existence is a lie. As opposed to like normal people will just deal with it, right? The normal people are going to go, okay, well, so what? My world's a construct. Cool. We're going to have warp travel. That's awesome. You know, the people that's, just getting red pilled, these people, like, for a lot of them, they've just tied their whole personality to these videos must have to be fake. And this is actually part of the reason why I intentionally polarized the topic. Like, I wanted to polarize these people to a point where, like, they get exposed as the frauds that they are, which is what you see. Because rational, logical people don't come at you that hard. So when you polarize it and you show that they're going to have real world consequences for lying about the stuff in the videos, this is where it just breaks them entirely. Like, they're trying to do little psychological operations on me to get me mad. Well, I just pulled one on you guys, and it's worked. Good luck. So yeah, this is catastrophic disclosure, guys. This is the situation where it's not a slow drip. And this is what I think a lot of these UFO celebrity type people that are out there, they are trying to have this be a slow drip process where, like, these nut jobs and stuff like that their minds are going to be broken, that they get, like, slowly eased into it, like, over decades or something like that. And I'm not doing any of that. I'm just literally pulling off the Band-Aid. Like, if certain people hurt themselves or whatever, we can't stop that, man. We really can't. If certain people have to go to prison because they were, trying to cover this up, then they're just going to go to prison, or at least maybe not go to prison, but they get sued and get all their money taken from them. Hopefully that will serve as a lesson to people in the future to be more open-minded and not be like gatekeepers or whatever. And that's why I made my post about the gatekeepers, is that, like, this investigation is the worst enemy to the gatekeepers that are out there. Those people have no power whatsoever with respect to this. And, it just shatters all of their tiny little imagined power that they have. Yeah, Lockheed probably holds the keys to the castle, as well as some other people. So let's dig into some other stuff here as well. There's so many comments too where, like, people are still, like, there's a lot of people that are never going to be able to accept this to be real, guys. So, like, and if you look at a lot of the like the protests that are going on right now, if you go look at those protests on these college campuses, every single person is wearing a mask. Every single one. These are the types of NPCs that they're never going to be able to accept these videos to be real. For a lot of these people, like, whatever the government told them, that's their reality. Like, we have to just accept the fact that we live in a world where a very large percentage of people are just straight up NPCs. They don't have any original thoughts. Like, they're literally they might not even be conscious. Like, only 50% of people out there, I think there was a study, have an inner voice. A lot of people out there aren't even conscious. They're just robots that are just spewing stuff out that they've absorbed, and they don't have any critical thinking abilities whatsoever. So it's not a matter of us trying to convince every single person on the planet the videos are real. That's never going to happen. It's really a matter of situation where we get enough people where we can take power back, where we can either get the information out there where people can utilize it themselves, or to a point where we can force a statement from the government. Because the same way the government telling people, oh, a mask might help you from a virus, now everybody's going to perpetually wear masks for the rest of their lives. That can do the same kind of the benefit that we need in order for the videos to get the attention they need. My ex. No. It's not because it's partially probably because the cameras thing, but not really. I mean, what do you have to hide? It's hilarious. Can you please explain what will happen to this? What will come of this discovery and how it affects everyday man? Free energy. How about that? Imagine just free energy. You have free energy. Let's say you have a generator, produces free energy for you all the time. Take that to its logical conclusion. Anything and everything you want. We'll change every aspect of our lives, every single one. Boom, boom, boom. No, it's definitely NPC behavior, bro. Definitely NPC. If you can't look at the evidence and come to the logical conclusion, or at least another conclusion that's consistent with the evidence, then you're an NPC. Simple as that. So we've got the evidence list. I'll pull it up here again, right? So look at this evidence list. And if there's something on the evidence list that you think is wrong, well, then, that's debatable. But to simply say that you think this can't be real and that you don't have an alternative story that fits with the evidence list that we see, that's NPC. That's what NPC is. That's not critical thinking. So that's literally the opposite of critical thinking. Critical thinking is using the scientific method, which is coming up with a hypothesis for what you think could have happened, reviewing it against the evidence, and trying to come up with a story that makes sense, and then potentially going back and reanalyzing your hypothesis here based on the evidence list that we have here. And what you'll see is a lot of people are just straight up NPCs, where you ask them, and this is why if you're an NPC, I'll give you what the NPC test is. Okay, if you want to know if you're an NPC or not, I'm going to ask you a question, and I will tell you if you're an NPC. If the answer to this question is you don't know, then you're an NPC. What happened to the plane? What happened to MH370? If your answer is you don't know, then you're an NPC. Your answer should be, well, here's the possibilities, and here's what's based on the evidence that's out there. Yeah. And then the next question again is, what's the evidence? And you should be able to say what the evidence is. If your answer is just you don't know and it's some unknowable thing, then you're just an NPC because you're just waiting for your programming to come in to be told what to think. So there's your answer. Yeah, the idea that I don't know and you don't know and nobody can know, that's NPC behavior. Yeah, we can know. Things are knowable. And that's how you do it. Use the scientific method to come up with evidence and review the evidence. So there you go. Now, you guys ready? I just showed the evidence, by the way. So there's a link to it. I'll post it in the YouTube chat for you guys so you can hold on. Let me grab the shareable link. So if you want to review the evidence, take a look. I'll go ahead and add it up. We searched for the plane for 10 years. Actually, they searched for 4 years for the plane and didn't find a single piece. So we're never going to find the plane. That's not going to happen, guys. It's not 2014, 2015. It's 2024 now. They searched everywhere with the most advanced technology that they have. And we already know the United States knows what happened to the plane. So there's no excuse to not find it. The United States knows what happened to the plane. So again, you just have to use logical, basic, critical thinking. That's all it takes. So the moment you realize the United States has to know what happened to the plane, then it narrows down the possibilities significantly. So again, we can know, and all you have to do is if you want to realize that if you want to know if you're an NPC or not, just ask yourself what happened to the plane and what the evidence is. Simple as that. Yeah, the amount of foam in the water, I'm going to probably bring that up with Glenn back tomorrow. Okay, I think we've addressed enough of this. Sorry, an hour in. Oof. Okay, let's go to, the foam in the water thing is pretty much the death knell to the debris people, because that actually proves that the experts that think that the plane sunk into the water, they're objectively wrong. The plane, the parts of the stuff would have floated, and it would have floated to the surface. So again, this goes to show that even a lot of the experts are just NPC brains that can't even use basic critical thinking skills. It's just sad, man. Of course, you can ask a question. You don't have to ask. You just have to ask it. The plane was made by Boeing, yes. The U.S. spends more on their surveillance and military than the next 8 countries combined. Yet somehow our acoustic system doesn't see the plane, our satellite system doesn't see the plane, and our multiple radars that can see for thousands of miles somehow don't see the plane, even though it's flying for 8 hours. Guys, it's just basic critical thinking, guys. Yeah, it's obfuscation, not incompetence. It's not incompetence. It's obfuscation. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff, guys. Pull this over here. Okay, can we see this? Okay, we can see it. Kind of want to edit one of these so that I can. Hold on. Let me see if I can edit this layout. There we go. Kind of want to do it like that. Okay. That's better. Now we can see me much better here. Do I think these craft are being funded by the trillions of dollars we lost track of? Of course they are. Of course they are, man. This is definitely a defense contractor technology that's out there. Are the orbs ours? Yeah, it's ours. It's our stuff. I mean, if you want to think it's aliens, you can feel free, but you don't need to use aliens to explain something that doesn't require aliens to understand. We've got scientific papers from 2010 here that literally explain essentially every aspect of these orbs. Then the plasma physics as well. We found some of that as well. So government tried to pull some stuff and make a discovery in the middle of nowhere that contains pieces. It's pretty impossible for them to pull that right now because it's been too long. Like if it was 2016 or 2017 and then these videos got popular, then yes, they could throw some stuff in the water. But at this point, it's 10 years later. So at this point, like the best bet for them would be like, what would be their best move? Probably to sink a plane and then be like, that's it. But there's not going to be enough rust on it. Like you need to have 10 years of decay at the bottom of the ocean at this point. You'd have to have the bodies and the skeletons in there. The skeletons are preserved at the bottom of the ocean as well. So there's just literally nothing they can do. They can't hide it, but we have to give them the least amount of time. We have to like show and get them to make a statement before they can come up with some other debunk or whatever, which is definitely what the intelligence community's next play is at this point. But also their next play at this point, because they don't have any chance of debunks, their next play is to try to discredit me probably. My guess is that they'll try to attack me on as many fronts as possible, including psychological, to try to make it seem like I'm unhinged or something. But you guys know that that's not true. I don't have any mental issues or anything like that. But that's probably what to do is they'll try to apply stress and have people personally attack me, try to get people to think that, make false statements about me so that they think that, which is why the Kim.com move was super weird, because that's exactly what their play would be, is to have some guy come out there and try to wriggle away popular opinion. But that's not going to work either. I'm sure aliens are out there somewhere. I don't know if the aliens are here with us, though. I think that's pretty unlikely. The Glenn Beck thing, once again, if it's live, it's at 10 a.m. tomorrow. It's probably on his channel. I don't know exactly where, but it's The Blaze. So I believe it's going to be on the radio, but it should be probably available online. Yeah, I'm giving free knowledge out as well. Like I haven't put anything behind a paywall ever. I haven't tried to sell anything. Like I'm actually like the least grifter of everybody on the internet who's, promoting, information or what have you out there. Like a lot of these people, and you can make money. I've got nothing against people who are making money. You like John Greenwald sells dildos. He does foyas and dildos. People don't call him a grifter. I told him we could go into business. We could sell MH370 dildos, but I guess he was not interested. How did I come into this, guy? So you read through the evidence list, but it goes back to social media site Reddit, where I was a lurker once upon a time. And then I made an account using one of my email addresses, and it had been used by some kind of bot or something. So I have like the dumbest name ever, like additional ad 3746 or something like that. But I've only posted on Reddit, like, I don't know. Well, after our subreddit got banned, I only posted a few times. Why is scalar physics a no-go word? So a lot of it is that at this point, the next play will be to try to get some of the science influencers that the government has under their thumb to try to say that the science isn't real. And if we start using terms that open ourselves up to scrutiny, then they probably will. It'll make it easier for them to do that. Like they'll be like, scalar physics isn't a real thing. So that's why we really need to talk about the scalar potential in Maxwell's equations, which is real, and talk about the reduction in Maxwell's equations. But I'm talking about the ether anyway. I don't care if people want to hate on the ether. Ether is real. We're bringing the ether back. Ether's a cool name. So we're going with that. We're getting rid of the quantum fluctuations in the virtual particles. We're calling it the ether. That's just ether with extra steps. Guys, just for one last time, I don't care about aliens. So a lot of people out there just really, really, really want to know about aliens. Not me. I don't care. I don't care. If they're real or not, they're here or not, it doesn't matter to me. Just don't care. If you care about that, that's great. I think that this science being real opens the door to aliens visiting us, but I just don't care. I just want to help change the world. That's all I want to do. Yeah, COVID showed us we have trouble admitting we're wrong. Boy, did it. In fact, instead of people admitting they were wrong, everybody just kept doubling down on COVID. Pretty ridiculous, man. I don't have any comment on Zeta Reticuli or any crap like that. Hey, everybody who's here. Sorry, there's a lot. The chat's moving too fast for me to keep up. I'm trying. Everyone just wants to know what rare cheeks they have. Okay, I'll address this one. Was Bob Lazar... Oh, wait, that's not right. Was Bob Lazar misled? I don't know. I think Bob Lazar seems like he's telling the truth, but could he have been fed some misinformation? Maybe. I don't think we need element 115 or any of that to make this happen. The stuff we see here, these electrogravitic effects, we don't need some special fuel source. We can just literally extract energy from the environment, which is the idea of unlimited free energy. That's where that idea comes from the ether. Yeah, let's get into the paper, guys. We've distracted enough. I agree. Okay. So traversable wormholes, stargates, and negative energy. I had a list. I'm not going to read through the whole thing tonight. And there's been some parts that I didn't quite read on yet, but let's look at the summary. So it reviews traversable wormholes, the Stargate solution, what a wormhole would look like in real life, general relativistic definition of exotic matter, generating negative energy in the lab, and then constructing a traversable wormhole is not easy. And it talks about the negative energy requirements and the energy condition violations. So I believe the energy condition violations, if I'm correct, I have to go back and look, is problem is trying to be consistent with the conservation of energy. I believe that's the problem, but we'll double check. Couldn't remember. So right off the bat, it talks about how it's important to achieve faster than light travel, because if we don't have faster than light travel, we can't really get anywhere that's out there. And the biggest issue is that it says that we would need exotic matter, negative energy to pull off. The answer there is the ether. So the ether is unlimited negative energy, which is the framework of our reality. So if we rip through that, then we have all the negative energy we need. The other thing, too, is that we need a bubble around our craft. We need to make a bubble around our craft, and the thicker our bubble is, the more energy we're going to need. But if we make that bubble really thin, as we found out, that energy requirement goes down a ton. So actually, I wanted to play. I have it closed here. Okay, let's go look at... Oh, one interesting thing I read here right away was that Carl Sagan, when he talked about contact, that was one of the first times that they talked about the principle of traversable wormholes. So this actually goes back to 1985, based on Einstein's theory of general relativity. So this goes back a really long way, the idea that we could create a wormhole. Now, based on these papers coming out in 2010, I think we can narrow down how long we've had warp drive to probably just a few years before this. I think MH370 is probably not the first time, but one of the first times where we had these orbs like this, where we could produce a real wormhole and a warp drive capability. I don't think it was like a test, but it probably was still one of the first times we pulled it off on something like that. Let me see here. So this part 2 is good. So here we go. The travelers would move at less than the speed of light through the wormhole and therefore not violate special relativity, but the external observers would view the travelers as traveling multi-light year distances through space at faster than light speed. So this is important because it brings up this issue of time dilation. Now, this paper is going to argue that there is no time dilation, which would mean that if you are on Mars and you go through a wormhole and you come back to Earth, that you could look up and you could see yourself waving at yourself because you would move faster than the speed of light. But this is important because it brings the idea up that from a wormhole perspective, it's like you walking through a doorway. But for people that are observing the external observer's frame of reference, it looks like you instantly traveled from one point to the other. And when we look at the MH370 videos, that's exactly what we see. We see an object just disappear. From our external observer perspective, it looks like that plane's disappearing at one point and it's going to reappear in another point. Okay, so the difference between and I'm actually going to just paraphrase most of this instead of just reading it out. People would ask, okay, well, what about a black hole? Isn't a black hole potentially a wormhole? The problem with the black hole is there's so much mass that it's going to collapse and crush you when you try to get to it. The difference between these wormholes is there's no event horizon. So if there's no event horizon, this is extremely important. That means that you can actually pass through the wormhole unscathed. The event horizon of the black hole is the point where nothing can escape, not even light. So if you went into the event horizon of the black hole, there's no coming out. You're just getting sucked in, squished down, crunched down. You'd probably die before you get to that point, but at that point, it's impossible for you to then get out and escape. With respect to a wormhole, you can get out, which means that you can go through that wormhole and you can come out the other side. You're not going to get squished. So this opens the door to humanly traversable wormholes, which Juan Maldacena has argued are possible if we have enough negative energy to pull it off. Somebody said something about fire event. Yeah, the fire event leads us to believe that this was espionage, as opposed, but it could also be a rescue operation. So we can't say with 100% certainty. If they just wanted them dead, you just let the plane crash after the fire. But the fact that the fact that they tried to warp them or whatever would tell us that they didn't want them dead. There's easier ways to kill people, much easier ways. Although you could still say that they were killing them as a show of force, but that's really dark. That's really dark. And there's some percent. I'd say there's like a 1% chance that this was an annihilation event. But when you look at what's going on in those videos and we look through these papers, it's pretty clear what we're looking at here is a warp drive. It's a wormhole is what we're looking at. Yeah, time actually shouldn't be removed from equations because time dilation is real. So actually, you can argue almost the opposite, is that maybe you remove gravity from the equations and instead all you get is time. Hard to say. I don't know truthfully one way or another. So yeah, right here it says explorers would enter one side of the tunnel, travel through the throat, and exit on the other side. Traversable wormholes do not possess an event horizon, which is the region of high gravitational field strength, separating the inside space surroundings from the black hole singularity from the outside universe. Once you go to a black hole horizon, you can never come back on the outside because you'll have to obtain faster than light speed to escape it. Not even light can escape the faster than light, the black hole. Let's see here. Okay, let's go to one of these says something about time dilation. I think I already spoke about the time dilation stuff though as well. And the big issue with standard physics is that the faster we approach the speed of light, the more massive we get, the more energy we need to increase our speed. So this breaks that. We get past that because instead of moving the object, we're moving the bubble. We're moving the medium. We're moving space-time itself. And this may be as well what the orbs are doing. The orbs may be actually doing a smaller version of Alcubierre drive, just bending space around them, pulling space. So it's like you're on a conveyor belt. So you're on the conveyor belt. Are you moving or is the conveyor belt moving? We just have the conveyor belt move. So we move the conveyor belt, and then that's kind of an analogy to what we would do with warp drive. We can be standing still, but the conveyor belt's still going, and we can walk on the conveyor belt, and we can go even faster if we want. But that's not quite the same here. In this case, the moment you put the bubble around it, you're instantaneously going to appear in another point. Okay. Damn, you guys are going crazy. Let's see. Yeah, so this is basically these paragraphs here just kind of talk about getting away from that because there's no way using classical propulsion that we can ever reasonably get to even the closest star system. It would take hundreds of years. So we really need something that's faster that's out there. So we need faster than light interstellar travel, and traversable wormholes are the answer. So if you are somebody that believes aliens are visiting us, you should be all in on this because this is the only way that makes any sense whatsoever. There's no way aliens are taking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to get to us. That would be just, I mean, just the travel through interstellar space would be very scary in general. Okay, so how does one study the physics of faster than light spacetimes within the framework of general relativity? When studying the physics, the normal philosophy is to take the general relativistic field equation, add some form of matter, make simplifying assumptions, and then to deduce what geometry of spacetime might be. It's very difficult to do this because there are 10 nonlinear second order partial differential equations, blah, blah, blah. Thank you for that donation. Hayes 10, appreciate you. NASA's new fuelless engine. The new engine is EM drive, the one that's been talked about by Charles Bueller. It's not necessarily NASA's. He was former NASA. He's working for a private company. But the former NASA guy, the private company, they basically produced EM drive, which is the equivalent of Star Trek impulse drive. We are talking about taking that to the next level. So we are like light years ahead of that, and we are talking about actually Star Trek warp drive. One is simply using the vacuum energy, if you want to call it, or like just taking the fact that there's our reality is interacting with the ether and using that connection to and the Casimir effect to create a situation where we get propellantless propulsion. So that like it's like if you're like when I push like this, like the chair doesn't move. But imagine if there's something here and I can push off of it. And now the chair will move. That's propellantless propulsion. Same idea with the EM drive, but with this drive, we're actually talking about literally warping space-time around our object and then moving the medium, stretching the medium. Scary. Do I think it's safe? Yeah, I actually do think it's safe for biological organisms to move this way. Like I said, it's just like walking through a door. There are 3 different papers about humanly traversable wormholes. 3 different papers of humanly traversable wormholes. So I absolutely think that this is real and can happen. And all those papers, humanly traversable wormholes, are all from 2020 and beyond. So that's how new the idea of a humanly traversable wormhole is. Some of them argue we don't even need exotic matter. Some of them argue that we can produce it without exotic matter, which would be negative energy. We don't think we even need that at this point because of the ether idea. That just solves that problem as well. So let's go back to traversable wormholes in terms of what this says regarding them. Time travel through the wormhole tunnel should be less than 1 year as seen by both travelers and outside static observers. I don't know exactly what that means. Proper time measured by the traveler should not be dilated by relativistic effects. So this means, again, that there would potentially not be a time dilation effect. I'm not sure I agree with that. I would have to see it to know for sure. But one way or another, like this would mean that the plane showed up instantly somewhere else if there's no time dilation. If there is a time dilation effect, then the plane is going to show up slightly in the future. It's going to show up in the future based on the distance traveled. The gravitational acceleration and tidal gravity accelerations between different parts of the traveler's body should be less than 1 g0. So g0 is the acceleration of gravity near the Earth's surface. So essentially, you're not going to experience any more gravity than what you would experience just walking through the door right now. Travel speed through the throat or tunnel should be less than the speed of light, which is obvious. So that just means like the plane is flying at normal speed. That's what this means. Less than the speed of light is any normal speeds. The travelers must not couple strongly to the material that generates the warp of the wormhole curvature. The wormhole must be threaded by a vacuum tube through which the travelers can move. So this is important because this means here that the Philadelphia experiment could have been that the people were coupled to the field, to the bubble that was being created. You don't want to be touching the bubble. That's what this means. If they make a bubble around you, don't touch that bubble. If you touch that bubble, bad stuff's going to happen. You're going to get stuck into the wall. You don't want that. And then there's no event horizon at the wormhole throat, which lends the idea that you could actually traverse through. It's not a black hole that we're looking at here. It's a phase state change. So pretty cool. The bubble's not going to pop, but as you see, when we look at the MH370 videos, the bubble disappears like instantaneous. Like it's a fraction of a second, the whole event, which I think is interesting because it's not instantaneous, but it's pretty close to instantaneous. So when we look at this drone zap here, and this is super slow-mo, what we're looking at right here. So we're looking at in super slow-mo, and there's only 4 frames. So this is like almost 1/10 of a second, maybe less than, maybe around 1/10 of a second, somewhere like that. Maybe a little bit more than 1/10 of a second, and the whole plane's gone that fast. And then it's instantly going to appear on the other side. So it's not like you're chilling in the middle of the wormhole. It's not going to be like in some of the TV shows where you're like flying through the wormhole and you've it's not like you're flying through it and you're looking on the sides and you're looking at this wormhole. No. You walk through it like a doorway, and now you're just on the other side. That's a real wormhole, not a science fiction one. And it's not dematerializing or rematerializing either. That's also science fiction. I do think that the Philadelphia experiment, I don't have any like proof, but I think that if this is real, then the Philadelphia experiment is probably the first time where we accidentally figured this type of effect out. We bent space-time too much without considering what would happen. And then probably the situation was because of the way we had the field set up, people literally were like touching the throat of the wormhole. And when they are the mouth of the wormhole, when they touched it, they just got stuck into like the craft, and all kinds of other weird displacement effects happened, which is dark and sketchy. One part in here it is. Oh, I found it right there. The throat of the wormhole is spherically shaped. Well, that's a Yahtzee moment. The throat is spherically shaped. So this actually tells us that what we're looking at this video. So someone either knew what a wormhole would look like in 2014, where technically I guess they could have seen these papers. I don't know when these papers were made publicly available. But if these papers weren't made publicly available, there's not really been a lot of wormhole science out there. So how did the person who was making this wormhole know what a real wormhole would look like? That's a spherically shaped wormhole right there. And before you say, no, it's not perfectly spherical, don't worry. There's going to be more evidence that's going to come up here in a minute. So we've got that in here as well. Now you can see that this is kind of the idea of how space-time, if you were to imagine space-time bending, but again, you're not going to like be in the wormhole like this. This part where you're actually through the throat of the wormhole is going to be instantaneous. So you're not even going to see that visually. But this goes to just help you imagine how this is possible, where our space-time geometry is this flatness. And then the ether represents kind of an underlying code which connects all points in space and time. That's why when I talk about the ether connecting all points in space and time faster than the speed of light, that's why it's so important, is this idea that this here is really infinitely short. And so when you go through one point, you just instantly appear on the other side. Pretty cool stuff, right? Now let's see what else. So you need either exotic or negative energy to create the traversable wormhole. But the answer to that is very easy. If we have unlimited energy, which is also what we see, because people ask, well, what's powering the orbs? So those orbs must be coherent energy from the environment, which maybe there's enough energy just like around them, but I think you really need the ether in order to explain how those orbs have enough energy to produce the effects that we see. Although we will go look at Jack Sarfati's message, which is why it's so important that we did today. So the Stargate solution, this one I'm going to read because I'm curious. It is straightforward exercise to design a real Stargate from wormhole physics. A Stargate is essentially a traversable wormhole with a flat face shape for a throat as opposed to a spherical shape. So this is going to be like your mirror. The traveler going through the Stargate will simply be shunted to the other a remote space-time region within our universe or another universe. Okay. So this is literally just talking about an actual Stargate, like the TV show, like right here, down here, when you look at this one, where you could just walk through it. So, and I've talked to some people that like there is some possibility, if this is real, that like defense contractors might have underground bunkers that have real Stargates in them that connect to different bases, and then you can just walk through it and show up on the other side. I think Rick and Morty had this, like the president in the United States and Rick and Morty, I think they had something like this, which is pretty wild. If the show Stargate is actually real and we actually have that kind of capability, that to me is just wild. Now here's some of the math. So all the math seems to check out in terms of it being possible, presuming that we do have negative energy requirement. So the surface tension is required to keep the throat open and stable against collapse. To make this thin shell wormhole entirely flat requires that one chooses the throat to have at least one flat face. This means that the traveler encountering and going through such a wormhole Stargate will feel no tidal gravitational forces and see no exotic matter threading the throat. So the traveler stepping through the throat will simply be shunted to another remote space-time region or to another universe. Therefore, one can construct a Stargate by generating a thin shell or surface layer of exotic material, much like a thin film of soap stretched across a loop of wire. So again, your shell doesn't have to be that thick. As long as you are bending space-time itself, the shell can be extremely thin. It's pretty cool. Have you seen the Taylor Swift wormhole traversing map? She's really abusing her privileges. Yeah. Okay, what would a wormhole look like in the real world? Uh Let's see. Looks like a sphere that contains a mirror image of the whole other universe or remote region. Now, this is the part where when I was talking to Brad Voorhees, he was like, you should be able to see through it. I don't know how to explain it, but I don't think that's going to be the case for the type of wormhole that we see with MH370. What we're seeing there is an extraction of energy, an endothermic event, an absorption of energy. But it does beg the question, like there's something there that I don't fully understand. Maybe some advanced physicists can talk to us. Now, maybe a Stargate. If you make a Stargate, then you probably are just looking straight through. But with respect to the MH370 type of portal that we're making, my guess is it has to do with the scalar interferometry and that it's using some type of an entanglement effect as opposed to something that's more of a traditional wormhole that we would expect. But I'm not 100% sure on that. And this paper, while this doesn't mean that this paper is 100% accurate, like this is a hypothetical physics research paper, theoretical one, not one that's based on experimental data. So if we have to rewrite some of the laws of physics, then that's going to throw some of the conclusions here through a loop. But this is the one that I think John Oliver was making fun of, the one with the dinosaur on it. Which is interesting because there is this question of if you don't have a time dilation effect, then the question comes up of, well, can we go back in time or can we look into the past? I don't think that that's possible because if it was, I feel like our reality would be vastly different. But maybe that's part of the reason why they're hiding this from us. Like maybe they don't want people changing the past or messing with the past that's out there. Let's see what else we've got. Okay, so the energy conditions here as well. I think we've already addressed why and how we need negative energy. I didn't really find when I was reading through this any big gotcha points, although I may have to take another look at it and see if I come up with any others. But it does talk about the idea of cosmological inflation is what we essentially need for dark energy. And I think that the ether can answer that problem as well. So it shows that there must be some way where we can move faster than the speed of light. So yeah, cosmological inflation, cosmological particle production, which is probably the quantum particle or quantum or virtual particles, classical scalar fields, and the conformal anomaly and gravitational vacuum polarization are among many other examples that also violate energy conditions. Since the laws of quantum field theory place no strong restrictions on negative energies and fluxes, then it might be possible to produce exotic phenomena such as faster than light travel, traversable wormholes, violations of the second law of thermodynamics, and time machines. There are several other exotic phenomena made possible by the effects of negative energy, but they lie outside the scope of the present study. Okay, so there we have our thing. So the second law of thermodynamics is the idea that hot always flows to cold. So there may be some kind of reverse thing that happens there, which I think would be the idea that we can produce like cold, like if we make a free energy device that it's going to produce, it's not going to heat up. It's actually going to produce cold air around it or cooling effect around it would be the right way to point it out. So we are, I think, going to end up rewriting. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but I think we are going to end up. Oh, I'm not even presenting this. Jesus, guys. We are going to end up possibly rewriting the law of conservation of energy. And I think we have to re-understand the second law of thermodynamics. We may have to rewrite it as well. We're not going to rewrite all of physics with this, but just some parts of it. Does seem grandiose to make that statement, but yeah, that's what it is. It is what it is, chat. Okay, and then there's a bunch of stuff about generating negative energy in the lab. So suffice to say that ultra high intensity tabletop lasers have been used to generate extreme electric and magnetic field strengths in the lab. Ultra high intensity lasers use chirp pulse amplification, CPA technique, to boost the total output beam power. All laser systems simply repackage energy as a coherent package of optical power. So we're talking about converging the laser down onto a single point. But CPA lasers repackage the laser pulse itself during the amplification process. I don't really know what that means. In typical high power short pulse laser systems, it is the peak intensity, not the energy or the fluence, which creates the pulse distortion or laser damage. However, CPA lasers dissect a laser pulse according to its frequency components and reorders it into a time stretched lower peak intensity pulse of the same energy. This benign pulse can then be amplified safely to a high energy and then only afterwards reconstituted as a very short pulse of enormous peak power, a pulse which could never itself have passed safely through the laser system. Made a more tractable way, this pulse can be amplified to substantial energies without encountering energy intensity related problems. This is the part here where this is the answer to what the orbs are doing with the beams in front of them. Yeah, the phase conjugate pump wave. So I think this is both what we see with the orbs when we look at the trails in front of them here. I'll show the video. I believe this is what we're seeing right here, is we're seeing a laser. And that's funny because I speculated that these could be using a laser before I had any idea about the science. Before I even talked to Salvatore Pais, I was like, this looks like a laser being shot forward. And they were like, yeah. So this, I think, is actually a pulse as well. And do they disappear afterwards? Like, how quickly do the dark trails go away? That's one of the things I'm not sure. It does look like they dissipate pretty quickly. So it's actually using a laser beam to produce this effect. And I think it's using a very powerful pulse laser effect in order to pull that off. And these scientific papers would seem to confirm that. And then they potentially use this exact same apparatus to induce the gravitational effect from the entire plane itself, which is pretty cool. You've got two completely different effects happening from, well, not completely different, but similar but different effects happening from the same mechanism here. Yeah, the trail does seem to fade, right? So maybe it is really just doing this exact same thing. Yeah, the trail fades really quick. You can see it like right here, like right there. You can see the trail starting to fade already. Yeah, it's already fading. So maybe that trail does fade really quickly. So maybe it literally is making space or tapping in, creating a very focused point of negative energy from the ether that is immediately self-organizing within a few seconds. Yeah, and black means cold. Okay, so let's go back to the other paper. Yeah, gravity wave. I mean, what even is a gravity wave, right? So gravity wave, a geodesic. I think that there's definitely a direct link there between the two of them. Very interesting. So the power intensity, we looked at this with the other paper as well, and the magnetic field intensity. A vigilant reader might assert that the electric and magnetic fields generated by ultra-high intensity lasers are not static, but in fact, these fields are static over the duration of the pulse width while at peak intensity. The data above illustrates the high-intensity lasers can generate an electric field energy density that's really high. So that's 10 to the 16 to 10 to the 28 joules per meter cubed. That's super high. This is really high. To break the Schwinger limit, you just need to get 10 to the 33. And this might be producing that the laser might be the delivery mechanism for the scalar potential. So the scalar potential is the stress in the medium. So if we're touching our squish ball, the stress in the medium is gravity. That's our interaction between the ether and reality. So the laser is allowing us to direct that. So that's what's allowing us to create the gravitational wave along the path of the laser. Pretty incredible. I'm pretty sure if these videos are fake, we wouldn't be able to figure this all out. And some people might say, well, you're just making it all up. I mean, I didn't write these papers. This paper's been out there forever. How are there scientific papers from the Defense Intelligence Agency exactly explaining what we see? And then this is talking about the 0-point fluctuation. This is going to be talking about the Casimir effect as well. So again, the squeezing, this is going to be that stress in the medium that we're interacting with, and abusing that is potentially allowing us to produce some of these types of effects. I'm going to skip through some of this, even though I haven't read all of it. Because I want to go to some of the other stuff. Gravitationally squeezed electromagnetic 0-point fluctuations. Vacuums field stress negative energy from the Casimir effect. So the Casimir effect is definitely it's kind of how we can explain how the fluctuations of the vacuum can cause these types of stress events to have the plates move together. And so I don't know that we're doing the exact same thing, but I think it's very similar to how we can create these types of effects where we are creating this geodesic that we're traveling down as well. I look forward to learning more about this. Maybe I will become a physicist at one point in time, but I've got a lot more to learn. William, I don't mean to offend, but like the way that you were spamming all your links probably got you triggered for engagement farming. Like when you reply to people, you can't just like always retweet your own content because that the system sees that and it looks like it's engagement farming. So I mean, if you care, that I think that's why you're getting banned. Sucks though. So just be careful about that, man. They're probably going to come down on you for that. Like I've never reported you for that because I don't believe in that, but I wouldn't be surprised the algo gets you for that. So just be careful. Okay, so now it talks about many types of this, whatever. Let's skip this. What's the next one I want to look at? Okay, there's something about the light here that I want to look at. Oh, and actually, okay, here, yeah, I think this is it right here. I think this is the same equation. Let's just read this. We're almost to the end anyway here. One knows how to make small quantities of negative energy in the lab, but one does not know if it is possible to make large quantities of negative energy. It was pointed out in section 3 that one, some, or all of the classical energy conditions must be violated in order to build a traversable wormhole. And it would also be cautioned that this was not a showstopper because the energy conditions have all been violated by nature or by lab experiments prior to their formulation. We've already violated them. However, the reader should be forewarned that there are a number of published claims that the energy condition violations can be avoided. The claims are just semantic games whereby investigators universally invoke the following scenario: divide the total stress energy into weird matter plus normal matter, push all the energy condition violations to the weird matter so that the normal matter does not violate the energy conditions. Given that the energy conditions are not absolute, such rearranging approaches are not necessary. Traversable wormhole throats violate the NEC, which is negative energy, net energy condition, I think. So how big a violation is required? To answer that, there's only one need to calculate the amount of negative energy that will be needed to generate and hold open a wormhole throat. A simple formula for a short throat wormhole using the thin shell formulation gives a quantity in the terms of equivalent mass. So basically what they do here is they tell you the amount of mass, but what they mean is since E equals mc squared, we can figure out exactly how much mass energy we need. So mass and energy are still one and the same. They calculate in terms of mass, but they're really talking about energy required. So when you look at this equation, you see mass here, you can just convert that to energy to figure out how much energy that you might need. Mass is the equivalent mass required to build the wormhole. And then here's the thing about how much energy you would potentially need in order to produce it. But this is the part where if you scale down the how much the shell is on there, you potentially need less and less. So this is the part where I want to go and I want to show the Jack Sarfati clip from earlier, because I think that Jack Sarfati's thing that I've always wondered about, is this idea that we can produce, that's not what I want to show. That we can get the energy densities that we need by not just achieving higher amounts of energy, but requiring less energy. So the difference there is if we need less energy to produce it, then that's another cheat mechanism. One thing is that we can either produce a ton, we can make our shell thinner, we can amplify energy up to achieve the energy we need. But another way to approach the problem is to reduce the amount of energy that we need in order to produce the effect. And I think that both are happening here now. I think that Jack Sarfati is right and Salvatore Pius is right. Hayes 10, Ash, please check out 9 days ago, new anti-gravity device. Yeah, I've already talked about this. I've already posted it. It got hundreds of thousands of views, like 300,000 views. This is EM drive. This is not the same. So again, guys, just to reiterate, because you donated, I appreciate. There are multiple types of anti-gravity. Just means a repulsive force that counteracts gravity. So if I take this is a screw right here. If I drop this screw, it hits the ground. Anti-gravity would just be a force that allows it to suspend in midair freely. So that's cool. And if I were allowed to push forward without propulsion, like is talked about by Charles Bueller, then that is impulse drive. That's Star Trek impulse drive. So when you want to go a short distance and float, you use the impulse drive. When you want to warp yourself to Mars, you need straight up warp drive. The stuff that we are talking about here is warp drive. And the reason why we're talking about warp drive is another level, whole nother level. Warp drive is like taking that to the extreme. So let's switch over and show this.
Okay, look, that's the mass energy, right? But if c squared gets small, that thing goes down. See, it goes down. But like as the it's here the total mass you need is a c squared, but c squared becomes if it goes from 10 to the 8 meters a second to 1 meter per second, then you're down by a factor of 10 to the 16, right? In this particular calculation. But he doesn't say that. See, they don't say that change C.
So he's looking at this is the same thing that we were just looking at, chat. Exotic matter energy requirements. So this is why I came over to this one. So here's the equation. Again, the mass energy requirement on the left. Now notice the R in the one that we were looking at was just 1. So we're dividing by the gravitational constant. I think that's big G. And then C squared here. C is the speed of light. So speed of light is a huge number. So speed of light squared is gigantic. So Jack Sarfati is saying that we can cheat the system because we can reduce the speed of light requirement down to 1. We can lower the speed of light here. And he says, well, he doesn't mention this because if we can lower the speed of light from this giant number squared to 1, now you've reduced the requirements of mass like, by 10 to the 16, which is a huge number. Basically, it becomes much more plausible. This is why Jack Sarfati argues that we don't need a lot of energy in order to produce these effects. So contrary to the schmuck factor here, I totally understand what Jack Sarfati is mentioning. I understand why he thinks we can teleport an object using a very low amount of energy. I'm not sure I agree with him here, but the next part is very interesting.
That's what they're missing. But this is fine.
Yeah, I think you can achieve that using a stable plasmoid or vortical.
A stable plasmoid? Chat. Is that a Yahtzee? So he says that we can achieve that lower C by using a stable plasmoid. You guys got any stable plasmoids out there? Can anyone think of a plasmoid? What does stable plasmoid remind you of? Does that remind you of anything that we've been looking at recently here, chat? Ooh, what about this video right here that we've got? What about these orbs that are plasma fields going around? So just for the record, I had never seen this before. I've been talking about plasma fields. I've been talking about plasma fields around the orbs for months and months and months and months. So either I'm just psychic and I magically figured out that we literally would need the thing that I already said that we were seeing, or it seems like this is the answer for how we're able to reduce C here, reduce the energy requirements. So there's potentially two things happening. We are reducing the energy requirements. This may be why hypersonic weapons use plasma sheaths, is because it now helps from the mathematical equation perspective. This is how we're able to achieve speeds that would otherwise just rip the object apart due to friction. They're using plasma sheaths. This is why the guy says we might be able to achieve that with a plasmoid or a vortical engine, a vortex. Stable plasmoid. That's literally what we're seeing. Bob Greenier said that's literally what we're seeing right here. These are exotic vacuum objects. These are stable, self-contained, self-sustaining a field of energy. Pretty wild, right? There it is right there, chat. You're looking at. That's why we see that heat signature in there. The person that leaked this wanted us to know these were real. They wanted us to know these were real. Let's listen to that one more time.
I think you can achieve that using a stable plasmoid or vortical. You can achieve that using a stable plasmoid or vortical.
Well, I hope you're right. So do me a favor, write it all up and send it to me. I hope you're right.
I mean, to me, that's a Yahtzee moment, chat. To me, that's a Yahtzee moment. So this gets around. So we've basically just deduced from looking at these videos that we can get around the energy requirement. We can potentially need less energy than what the papers say. We can amplify energy as necessary. We can produce a shell that's very thin that also reduces the amount of energy. Combine all these concepts together, and now a wormhole becomes very feasible. We can reduce the amount of negative energy required. We can amplify negative energy potentially using our super powerful lasers and our orbs converging related to Coulomb's law, make the whole medium go non-linear. The idea of the medium going non-linear is the idea of literally ripping open in the localized area, fabric of space-time. And then we can also, what was the third one? Oh, and create our shell very thin. So our shell is very thin, and now we don't need very much as well. You combine all those factors together, much more reasonable. And to get the negative energy, we have the ether itself. So we can, and this said, using high powerful lasers, we can actually achieve negative energy from them. Okay, so, oops, I actually removed the wrong one. Screen share again. Wish there was a way to get this to default to the right one. The last thing I want to go through here on this paper, I might have to search for it. Search. Okay, here we go. Observing negative energy in the lab. Guys, get ready for this. I hope you guys are excited. When background light rays strike a negative energy lensing region, they are swept out of the central region, thus creating an umbra region of 0 intensity. So it's going to get completely dark. At the edges of the umbra, the rays accumulate and create a rainbow-like caustic, which with enhanced light intensity. The lensing of a negative energy region is not analogous to a diverging lens because in the certain circumstances, it can produce more light enhancement than does the lensing of an equivalent positive energy region. Real background sources and lensing effects have a non-uniform brightness distributions on their surfaces and a dependency of their emission with the observable frequency. Guys, this just explained 2 more factors of the videos. Are you guys with me right now? Watch this. This just explained 2 more aspects of the videos, which if somebody faked these, they were an expert physicist now. 100% expert physicist that must have created the videos with these scientific papers in mind from 2010. They had to have, because that's what we're seeing right here. The lensing effect. This is the lensing effect. We've been calling it a gravitational lensing effect. Right here, you're seeing it. You're seeing it right there. That's the lensing effect that they're talking about right there where the objects are bending. This is happening right beforehand. Now, not just that. So not only does this paper explain the lensing effect, but remember it talks about the light rays and then having this producing more light enhancement. And so the idea that the rays are accumulating around the edges of the vortex of the wormhole. So what's that going to cause? That's going to cause our brightness effect. That's going to cause our zap to happen. So this actually also explains why the zap is illuminating the background as well. We found out the answer. That's what we would expect from a wormhole, is that the light that's normally hitting that area. So because it creates this localized area of this wormhole throat, the light that is normally hitting that area collects onto the surface, radiates outwards. Poof. In fact, I might play the other one. Let me see. So here it is. When you see the zap, look for it. Poof. We see that zap. That's why. I'm going to play it on my other one. I think I'm going to play the highest quality one. If I have it somewhere. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Maybe I don't have it. That's the red blue glasses. Drones. Oh, here it is. I got it. Okay, we're good. No worries. We got it. Let's do. Okay, so here's this one is a version that somebody seemed to have tracked down that they say is higher quality than the other ones. Also, there's all these different qualities of these videos too, which seems interesting. I'm going to skip ahead to this part. Now look at that. Look at that zap. Accurate illumination in 3 dimensions. Can I catch it? There it is. So look at this zap here. It's radiating photons outward from that are basically have bounced off of it. And we can even see it here with this extra this splotch that's over the top of it, which as far as I know, none of the debunkers have found any match for this thing here either. So this can explain 2 different aspects that we see in the videos from this paper. So this paper is pretty big, and there's probably some other stuff that I've maybe overlooked regarding this. I hope not, but so if you guys find anything else as well in this paper, feel free to let me know, and we can review them again tomorrow. But I think that's most of it. And then, yeah, so the conclusion is basically like we need to have this in order to get faster in light travel. We can't depend upon stuff that's going slower than that. We need comprehensive quantum gravity theory in order for a lot of this to make sense. But again, I think this is kind of goes along with what I've been saying for the unification field theory. Okay, so let's just read the summary. Oh boy, that's a lot. Okay. We need negative energy in the lab. We can already make small amounts of negative energy in the lab, yet we do not know if we can access larger amounts. Squeeze quantum vacuum generators. So that's the Casimir effect. Casimir effect listed again. Moving mirrors. Yeah, I'm going to skip that one. Dirac field states. Superposition of 2 single particle electron states or the superposition of multi-electron particle states. This is a nascent topic of study in quantum field theory. However, mankind already possesses a great deal of technology that's dedicated to the manipulation and storage of electrons and positrons via state condensed matter devices and particle accelerators. Quantum coherence effects. Other types of quantum coherence effects not already identified or invented should be theoretically developed and explored for the possibility of finding new free field or interacting field configurations that produce significant magnitude of negative energy, which could be produced by technical means. So quantum coherence literally allows us to produce negative energy. Well, there you go, chat. Kaboom. I didn't even see this one. Holy crap, guys. Lockheed Martin's patent. Coherent matter wave beam, chat. Coherent matter wave beam. This is how they're producing the negative energy. So potentially this is why we've always been talking about, this is why the physicists and scientists are telling us that we need coherent electrons. We need a coherent matter wave beam. This is what Bob Greenyer was talking about, John Archibald Wheeler. This is what we need in order to produce the effects that we need. Right there. Quantum coherent effects. Trapping and storing negative energy. I'm not sure that we're necessarily storing negative energy, but that's interesting to consider. And then constructing a traversable wormhole in the lab. Einstein's theory of general relativity does not provide instructions on how to construct a traversable wormhole. The field equation only provides a prescription for designating a special localized spacetime geometry and calculating the physical characteristics of the source matter that is required to induce it. If one zaps a region of spacetime with a beam of negative energy, will a traversable wormhole appear? One doesn't know. Maybe one has to poke a hole in space with an intense beam of negative energy, or maybe we have to use the negative energy to inflate the quantum spacetime fluctuation. Theoretical studies need to be implemented to address this question, and the author believes that empirical studies will be necessary to find the answer. We have the answer. We are staring at it. So the benefit of knowing the MH370 videos are real, with all the real world data that backs them up as being real and being the real story of the plane, is that we can look at this and we can realize that they are inflating it. That's what they're doing here, is they are actually inflating. What does it say? Negative energy to inflate the quantum space-time fluctuation. So that's why they're amplifying their energy here, is they're making their hole and they're ripping that hole open here. And then this is the part where you need to have the direction of travel. So this is the part where you need the rubber band. You need the 4th orb for the quantum entanglement. so that you can snapshot it to the location that you want it to go to. So pretty awesome. I'd say that we found, what, 4 or 5 things in here that would indicate that the videos are real, consistent with this paper that we just read. So this was a really good find. I think the other one was even better, the warp drive ones, because I mean, it really addressed it. But this one was also pretty good. So any last questions before we close out for tonight? Because otherwise I'm going to go to sleep and get ready for the Glenn Beck interview tomorrow. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. Let me take a quick look at my Twitter and see if there was anything else I wanted to post. Oh, I guess I'll show you guys real quick as well. The let's see, what do we got here? 55,000 views on that already. Oh yeah, okay. So this other one as well here. It's got 400,000 views already. Okay, so this is the movement of the orbs as well, which, guys, somebody faked the movement of the orbs where they're getting into a sine wave pattern after 3 seconds, and then they're in a perfect sine wave pattern after that. Here it is again. Look at this. What the hell? I mean, to me, this is like too perfect to potentially have been some kind of hoaxer that they set this up. This is a lot of crazy details, man. And it just happens to match a 3-wave phase pattern in electrical engineering as well, creating a 0 point in the middle at 120 degree. And then check out this comment. So I want to point out the context for this comment. How did I find this? Oh yeah, I went back to the old Reddit thread to pull these images, where I pulled these images from right here for these. So I have everything saved. And the person that has like deleted their account that posted this, their account is deleted now, which is weird. But I saw this comment, and this comment, back when this comment was posted 9 months ago, this was like early August. I thought this was an annihilation event. I thought the people talking about wormholes and teleportation were out of their minds. I didn't think it was possible. I thought that the plane had got zapped. That's actually what I thought. I thought the plane got zapped and that the plane was annihilated. So I wasn't even giving credit to this stuff. So I read it again and I went, holy smokes, this person like had it figured out. So it says, my first thought as well. I know a three-phase power very well, and the 3 orbs seem to form a perfect synchronous motion, forming the 120 degree out of phase sine cosine waves that OP neatly graphed out. If I may do some wild speculation, the wormhole generator may require this specific motion from these craft, where they act as poles of a hypothetical motor or generator and generate an EMF field between. That's an electromagnetic field between them. And we know that's what they're doing because when they're converging, they're increasing the electromagnetic force. Another thing to notice is the rotation of the orbs is clockwise if you're looking at it from the front of the plane on. Now, this is the part where normally when I think about it, I'm thinking about from the back of the plane. So that's why I'm saying they're counterclockwise. But if you're looking at it from the front of the plane, then it's clockwise. And this is the spice. This is interesting because the EMF generated by the generator is a vector quantity, and it is generated in the direction perpendicular to the plane of rotation and is given by the right-hand rule. We didn't even know about the right-hand rule, guys, the right-hand rule. So he's saying if it's rotating that way, then the right-hand rule is going to indicate that the plane's going to go backwards. That's going to be the vector. So if we use this rule on the rotation of the orbs around the plane, then the direction of the resulting EMF would be backwards towards the tail of the plane. This is interesting to me because we saw a little while ago that the wormhole opens up behind the plane and the plane is pulled backwards into it. This would make sense if whatever phenomenon these orbs are using to create the wormhole had a basis in electromagnetism. Okay, chat. This is the part where these videos are fucking real, chat. There is no such thing as hoax videos that have this much detail where literal people who are electrical engineers and experts are going, yeah, that's all 100% accurate to exactly how I would expect it to play out in the real world. There's no such thing as that. When you see a random flying saucer video or whatever, they're not consistent. Like there's not people writing up elaborate posts and comments about, yes, I'm an electrical expert and this is exactly what I would see based on these graphs of the orbs movements. And then here's the video of it getting sucked back. Now, I don't know if people are confused about this. This is literally just somebody overlaying the two frames on top of one another so that we can see that clearly, like right here, it got pulled backwards between this frame and the next frame. Now, this isn't a huge distance, but you can clearly see that it got pulled backwards. So once again, this shows right-hand rule, vector potential based on the rotation of the orbs is going to pull this thing backwards. And then what's backwards? Oh, well, if we generally look at the direction of travel from the plane, which we can figure out from the coordinates, we can figure out the vector of the plane from the coordinates. We can tell it's going to the east because of the coordinate shifts. That means the plane's going over to the west. Just so happens that's the exact place we need the plane to go. That's where the B777 fire suppression device washes up. This is where a tiny island over here, 20 islanders see the plane. It was big and making a lot of noise. He saw the aircraft pass overhead. He pointed to where it was coming from, west-northwest. And then they say it was headed south towards Diego Garcia military base. One of these people also, this person saw some red under the portholes and some red around the door. Somebody else saw the red and blue stripe of Malaysian Airlines on it as well. That's how low it was. They could actually make out the color of the plane. So, guys, this matches up with more evidence than anything else before. Like, how are people actually seeing the plane consistent with where we think the plane teleported if the videos are fake? Pretty wild, man. Yeah, hey, Emily, nice to see you. The bunkers hate this one huge graph. Yeah, I mean, that graph right there is kind of the death blow, that this stuff is just 100% consistent with exactly what we would expect from physics and electrical engineering. Yeah, we're on it, man. Like, this thing is, these videos are not going away. There is way, way, way too much evidence that these videos are real. And your counter argument is, well, I just think it's video game effects. Bruh, just get the F out of here. Just go somewhere else. People that don't want to come to Star Trek don't have to come with us, but these are and I'm just going to read my post now to close out with this because, man, now you guys see why, like, and the crazy part is this is like the stuff that people have talked to me and told me about. Like, I've got my own sources and stuff as well. A lot of them you've kind of already seen on my Hard Truths podcast out there. But even without those people, I'd still think this is real. Even without the random people coming to my DMs being like, yeah, that's real. Like, you need to not stop looking into this, or you need to be careful because you're looking into this. Even without that, I'd still be convinced because that's just how crazy powerful the evidence is. But then I have other people out there telling me like, yep, this has been suppressed. And like, some people want it to come out. Some people don't want it to come out. And I'm like, oh boy, this is dark, bro. So this is the statement that I want to make here. Wait, let me switch this over. Oh, what the? There we go. Cool. The greatest trick the devil ever... Okay, let's try this again. The greatest trick the devil ever... Oh, God. Chat. I'm struggling, chat. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. We are exposing the most top secret military superweapons on the face of the planet. Science and mainstream academia will not catch up for years, if not decades. Hypersonic weapons. I have dubbed them super harmonic conductive orbs. Superconductive harmonic orbs. I have dubbed them superconductive harmonic orbs. I am every gatekeeper's worst nightmare. A normal guy who is able to piece together publicly available information to expose technology that has been intentionally suppressed from the public. That's the only way this has been suppressed. The largest conspiracy in history. This leads to free energy. That's the explanation for all of this. Now, months ago, I said we would learn and show how the science works, and we have already begun that process. We are well along the way. We can now understand the Defense Intelligence Agency papers that were written by physicists and engineers who work directly on special access programs, people like Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, etc. They explain warp drive and traversable wormholes. They're from 2010, 4 years before the plane disappeared. Science like this is not an invention. It is a discovery. And that means it cannot be hidden forever. Eventually, this will become self-evident, even to mainstream academia, that we can warp space-time. Nothing on this planet is going to stop us from exposing the truth of the MH370 videos and the technology that comes with them. For those who want to live in the past, go ahead. No one's going to make you come with us. But for those who want to live in a new technological future, join us. This is MH370X. Warp speed, engage. That's what we're looking at here, chat. That's it right there. That's the future we're staring at. Unification of general relativity and quantum field mechanics. Hard to believe, absolutely. I even have a hard time believing it sometimes, but that's what it is. We are MH370X, guys. Moment of silence for the families. You know, we have a lot of fun talking about this stuff, but we have to remember that 239 people were either killed or kidnapped. And we had the United States government and several other governments cover it up for the, I don't know, whatever reasons they are, that we're not ready for it or for the greater good or for our own good or whatever. But there are family members that are out there that they're never going to get the truth. Because it implicates the United States government. It does make me wonder if the United States government and other governments didn't pay them, knowing that they did this to keep them quiet. To me, that's the only logical explanation. Because, you know, at this point, why would they have not have reached out? Even with an incredible story like this, why would they have not reached out? I think that a lot of them have been silenced with money. So, do we think they're alive? I do not. I do not think they're alive, but I think it's possible some are alive. So, moment of silence for them. And that's all for tonight, guys. Thank you very much. Check out the Glenn Beck interview. I will post the Emerald interview that I did earlier today, and it'll be 10 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Make sure you're checking out Glenn Beck's thing. I'll probably post a link tomorrow morning so that you guys can check it out the exact time and watch it if you want. Hopefully, we can turn Glenn Beck, because if we can convince Glenn Beck that at a minimum the United States government knows what happened to this plane, I think we can escalate this case to a point where we can get mainstream media and other major podcasters to take it more seriously. And if we get to that point, we can force the United States government to issue a statement on it. Guys, I love you guys. You're the best. We have the best community out there, period. No one can stop us. Let's do this thing. Peace, MH370.
It's H370 until you do some research. Don't talk to me. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. Your opinion, it means squat to me. It's H370. Not all heroes wear capes. I wear glasses to see. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. The trolls hate seeing me succeed, but guess what? H370.